to Nosy Meerkats. I am Gabby Jordan Brown.
And I am Lucas Arnold. We have a fabulous guest for you. She is a fabulous comedian, co-host of the host of Fickle Comedy, as well as the co-host of Double Threat Comedy. Wonderful shows around New York that you all should check out. Please give a warm round of applause for Shatha. Yes!
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. This is fun.
Of course. Honestly, Lucas and I, we were texting about who we wanted our next guest to be. And I feel like at one point, one of us was just like, I want a smart person. Like, I want someone.
That was you, Gabby. That was, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, I want to feel like I read a book without reading a book. Because obviously,
She's like, so far, it's just been IQ scores below 30.
Yeah. Below my shoe size. I'm like, let me get someone who's like an expert on something.
Oh,
and
no.
then Lucas and I were both like, Shatha, yes, is the pro. Like, we couldn't believe we hadn't asked you to be on yet.
It made us feel that much dumber. We were like, oh, we didn't think of Shatha for this. Oh, Jesus. We were disappointed.
We really don't think of anything. Wow.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
We are so happy that you are here. Yeah.
Of course. I feel like I have so many questions to ask you that I like can't even like pull up the first one.
Who's hot in the UN? Just
who's
all the European diplomats, pretty much.
Ooh.
I won't give you a specific name, but there's this guy in the Swiss mission to the UN. Ooh.
Oh.
Can you tell us a little bit about like the actual mechanics of your job? Because I know from your stand-up that you work at the UN. Like, what is a day in the life of Shatha?
Okay, let me tell you. So I lie a little bit, or I simplify what I do for the joke. So my salary doesn't come from the UN. I don't work for the UN, but I work on UN peace negotiations.
Okay.
Right. So I work for like a diplomatic consultancy, and the idea of our work is to level out the diplomatic playing field. So we tend to represent non-government, non-state actors, right? So the UN came about after World War II, and it was meant to stop conflict as we knew it back then, which was mainly between countries, right? Between France and Italy or Germany or whoever. Now conflict has changed. It's mostly between state actors, so governments, and non-state actors. And non-state actors could be political groups, could be militias, could be terrorist organizations, could be whatever they are, right?
So it's like the conflict is inter-country a lot of the time?
Exactly. We have like more intrastate rather than interstate conflict now.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the diplomatic field or the UN hasn't evolved to take that into consideration. They still focus primarily on state actors. So at the UN, only if you're a government do you get a seat at the table, right?
Well, that is so ableist.
Very ableist, Gabby. I couldn't have said it any better.
Oh, you have to be a government?
Just because we don't have a constitution? Just because we don't have a constitution, we don't get to sit here?
Oh my God. No, wait, Shatha, but when you said that like it was only that it was like it's between governments that it was designed, but it's now between like governments and like small organizations, I was like, oh, is it like Vienna versus Facebook? I don't know, like just social.
So it'll be like in Syria. So I worked on the Syrian negotiations for a while. There, the negotiations were between the Syrian regime, so the Syrian government run by Assad, and then the Syrian opposition who opposed Assad and were, at least in the beginning, speaking for the Syrian revolution. Right. So the Syrian opposition didn't have a seat at the table. So what I do and what my diplomatic consultancy does is we try to provide the Syrian opposition with the same advice, intel, strategic support. So that includes like actual diplomatic policy memos, and it also includes media and communication support. Like a lot of stuff happen on Twitter. So we do work on that. So I advised the Syrian opposition for several years. And that's what I did. And then now I work on the Yemen negotiations. So I work very closely with the UN, but my paycheck doesn't come from the UN.
I see.
In fact, wait, Lucas, go on.
No, so I was just going to ask that basically it's like giving all of the resources that a typical government would have at the UN to non-state actors. That's
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we have like criteria as to which non-state actors we support, but broadly speaking, the non-state actor has to be a group that is committed to international law, respect for democracy, respect for multilateral institutions like the UN, et cetera. So, we wouldn't be advising a terrorist organization, for example.
Yeah. No, Gabby, go ahead though.
I was gonna, well, I mean, that would be crazy. Like just advising. I've always wondered like what it would be like to like be like, I don't know, ISIS's social media intern or whatever. But I was gonna say, so in fact, it's not even like I had the misconception that you worked for the UN, but it's not even like that. In fact, you have to run a lot of things by them in order to get approval.
No.
It sounds like, oh, okay.
So luckily, no, we work independently. So we would have to run things by the Syrian opposition. They're technically our partner or our client, not the UN.
That's incredible.
Gotcha.
That's why it's cool. It's because I don't work for the UN. I don't have to be like neutral and impartial on things because I just think that's stupid. I wouldn't be able to do it. I get why it's there. But I personally just think there's always a side that's less bad, and that's a side we should try to prop up.
Gotcha. I wanted to ask, like, so these people you're representing, people that your company represents in general, how is the connection made? Like, do they somehow apply, or do you seek them out? Like, what is that process like?
It's a little bit of both. Because we've been around for like over a decade more, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We sometimes our advice and support is sought out, and a group will get in touch with us because they know about our work in X, Y, and Z conflict. And I should say we don't just work on conflicts. We work on other things like climate change and refugee policy and things like that. I just happen to be very lucky to work on the crises. I say that ironically, obviously.
I was gonna be like, you're right. That is so lucky. Thank God.
I get to work on the gritty shit. Just
yeah, on the gritty shit where nothing ends up happening. So yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Gotcha.
Got you. I was gonna ask, like, how did you get into this line of work? Like, what do you think specifically drove you into wanting to do this?
So it was completely random. I think lots of self-discovery during college. So I don't know if you guys know, but I was studying biomedical engineering when I first went to college.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Like, but I know that all of the science kids who don't really want to like do science or be a pre-med drop out of pre-med or drop out of, because that shit's hard. Man, that shit is so hard.
I still remember friends of mine in college just complaining about organic chemistry.
Fuck! I even have secondhand PTSD from orgo.
See, I loved organic chemistry. Like that was one of my favorite bits of chemistry.
Damn,
like,
your friends must have hated you in college.
No, but I grew up in Palestine, and our curriculum was always very science heavy. Mm-hmm. Like we did Arabic literature, English literature in the like latter years of your education in high school, but it was all about chemistry, biology, physics. Everyone took those subjects. So you were lucky if you were good at them, and if you weren't, sorry, there wasn't arts or philosophy or social studies or anything else that you could take.
Did you have any sort of like performance or artistic outlet when you were in like around high school age? Did you have anything like that?
I did. I was a dancer for a very long time.
Whoa. That's sick.
Yeah, I grew up dancing. I used to sing too. I actually was meant to perform for Yasser Arafat, who's the former president of Palestine, who died, but he got sick that week, I think. I can't remember. It was very close to when he died. But yeah, I used to sing and dance a lot. Like that was my that was what I did outside of school. And then I dropped it in college, which is so dumb. And then
what do you think led to that decision?
I think part of it, so I went to Harvard, and there's just so much to do and so many extracurricular activities. And I felt like I needed to gravitate to a little more of the cerebral extracurriculars. So I liked it. I was part of the Harvard Crimson, the newspaper, and I would write for it. And I did Model UN, which I had done which was like a debate, but for international relations. And I had done that in high school. But it's not the most enjoyable, at least for me, like between arts and debate, obviously.
Model UN.
Yeah, Model UN. It, like dance is so much funner. So I dropped it, and then it wasn't until sophomore year, I switched from biomedical engineering to government, which is just what they call political science there.
Right.
And that came about because my college advisor at the time was like, you just don't tell me anything about the latest in the medical profession or like from Boston Scientific, but you're always talking about human rights issues. Why don't you just do me a favor, take this intro to government class?
That is a great
I think it's funny
advisor.
that your professor is like, I want to hear what's new with stethoscopes. You're not giving me the scoop on stethoscopes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're always talking about this human rights shit. What the hell? Take a class about it and leave me alone.
Exactly. That was me. I was like, I don't know. And then I took the class. And obviously I grew up in Palestine, so like you're very politically aware at a young age. So that was always in the background, but my family isn't very political. My dad's a doctor. Funnily enough, he didn't want me to be a doctor. So he was like, yes, do biomedical engineering, just don't do pre-med. He almost wanted to rid me of the choice of going into medicine because working in Palestine as a physician is very complicated. The medical sector is very politicized. So he's like, if you want, he just assumed I would go back to Palestine and, try to be.
But if you said, oh no, I'm gonna make my life in America, who'd be like, oh sweet, be a doctor now. I was totally thinking you would just.
No, I think my parents, like to this day, still want me to move back and just obviously be closer to them. It is hard being so far apart.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And, my dad, he lived abroad for a very long time. He studied in the UK, worked there for like 16 years, then went back to Palestine. And he feels an obligation to contribute and serve his community, which is wonderful. I also feel that obligation at some point. I just think it comes with a lot of sacrifices right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you in regard to Harvard. So when you first started taking intro to government classes, obviously you grew up in Palestine, very politically active place, kind of a new perspective in terms of like people who went to Harvard. I feel like, what was it like? Did you what was the thing that most surprised you when you encountered like other people at Harvard who were taking that same class? And what was the thing where you were like, I don't know about this opinion that these people seem to have? Yeah.
I think it's just because for government, you would do smaller seminar classes that would have like 7 to 10 students. And then you do more lecture level ones. So the first one I took was a big like lecture class. We touched upon different topics, politics in Latin America, politics in Africa, etc. I think what I was most surprised about and what irked me is just how confident like measly Harvard students were about their opinions on a conflict they've never really grappled with. And I think Palestine, Israel is a little different because it's so in the news. And there's obviously like a big American Jewish population that feels like they also have a lot of knowledge on the situation. I was like, yeah, but you haven't lived it. Like you don't really know what it is beyond the policy. So I think that's what always bothered me a little bit, because I would never, even to this day, like when people ask me, oh, you're the expert on international, I was like, no. I'm an expert on a very, very niche part of it, like this specific aspect. But if you were to ask me about like domestic Syrian politics, I wouldn't be able to talk about that, right? I can talk really about the international UN-led efforts on it, but I wouldn't claim to know about, the structural and root causes of what led Syria to where it is now. I know a little bit, but I haven't lived it, right? It's only when you talk to actual Syrians that you feel that.
Right.
Can I also ask you, like, because I remember you said that like political science at Harvard was called government. Was there any other thing that like Harvard just like did a little bit differently? That's
a good question.
Just being like, because they were like, we call this government, and instead of math, we call it the ones and zeros and the others. Just like,
Instead of computers, we call them shiny screens.
I think it's common knowledge, but we call majors concentrations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have heard that. Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
about this.
yeah.
But they do that at other, I think it's not just Harvard. I think they do that at, I know at Bennington. I didn't go there, but I have a couple of friends who went. I find this so crazy.
Gabby has done nothing. She just like lives vicariously through other people.
I've done nothing in my whole life. I know their major is a question they have to explore over the 4 years of them going to college.
Yeah.
That's a similar thing at Hampshire College. At Hampshire College, you sort of design your own major. Like I know that Eugene Merman went there and he was like a comedy major, and like he sort of like designed it after like taking a bunch of different classes, and then his like senior year is like a capstone project that like is like a summary of everything you've learned. I even remember, okay, but one small thing about Hampshire that I thought was kind of, because I went on a tour when I was in high school, that there was someone, a woman who apparently she was a double major in cheese making and music theory, and she came up with 12 different cheeses that paired with 12 different musical compositions. So she wrote these musical compositions, and she also like made these different cheeses that you would eat and listen to at the same time.
And then her first year out of college, she probably became an ad agency creative. That's how this all happens. These people, they study. I mean, listen, obviously you can study whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it will never not be funny to me that people will do the most outlandish majors, and 3 years later they'll just end up at an ad agency like everybody else.
3 years later, she became the CEO of Wish.com.
But wait, the guy who did the comedy major, did he just was like, here's my curriculum design, I'm gonna hit up 7 mics a week, and then the college is like, okay, sounds good.
Eugene Merman, honestly, I think it was like certain like theater classes and like maybe history of like.
He's a genius, so he's the one who can do it. I watched was it the documentary on him or was it someone else? I literally don't know anything.
It's okay. I don't know if I've seen that, but I do like him. He's the voice of Gene on Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I really like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hampshire's weird.
Genius.
But yeah, more about
where
Harvard.
Is it? Wait, where is Hampshire?
Hampshire, it's somewhere in New England, like Connecticut or Mass. I'm not sure exactly where it is.
Yeah. It's going to be close to the New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's somewhere. Yeah. It's just somewhere around the Northeast New England. It's just around there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
Choose your right. It's a just choose whatever call.
Yeah.
Shatha, I wanted to ask you, so like you were talking a little about how people kind of perceive you as the expert on this thing and how they'll generalize it to be like, you're the expert on this one country or like this one conflict. Have you met other Palestinians in government, and what is it like working with people of a similar background who grew up in a similar way who have like very different points of view? Like,
so you mean like Palestinians who work back home in government?
Either like with you, like colleagues of yours, or who work back home in government.
Yeah,
you've met along the way.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of like Palestinian colleagues. I am the only Arab at the place I work at. But before my senior year, I took a gap year between my junior and senior year of college, and I actually went back home to test out what it would be like to work in Palestine, because I always assumed that I would do that actually. And there I worked at a human rights organization. They're great. And I worked at a economic think tank. I think I tend to be just a lot more pessimistic than other people are, even among like Palestinians. And maybe it's because I've just seen, I don't know, I tend to compare it a lot to other conflicts in other countries where there was like a self-determination cause, and how countries come to be right in the 21st century. And it just feels like Palestine's a hopeless case, at least during my lifetime. That could very well change, and I hope it does change. But I tend to be more pessimistic, but I keep reminding myself. And it's funny because I was listening to something about James Baldwin, and he said at some point, the African-American author, and he was saying, I can't afford to be pessimistic because I am alive. Like, it's not right for me to be pessimistic.
He's a genius, man.
I know. He's so good. Perfect. Yeah. And I heard that in the car and it was like so sobering. I was like, okay, fuck, I can't be a pessimist. Let's try this.
Fine, I'll be alive. Great.
But like, at some point you do feel like you like, oh my God, activism is such a tough job.
Yeah.
It's a really tough thing to wake up and just feel like, okay, you're working against the grain all the time and you're always the contrarian in the room. And still personally, you have to find that motivation to try to convince people who just don't care of what you think will make the world better or will bring us closer to the change that you hope to see, right? So I tend to be a bit more pessimistic.
I can see how comedy fits nicely into that though, because it's a way of comedy, I feel like, is a way of coping with the world through humor. So I feel like it's nice that that is also something you're so passionate about and pursuing, because it's probably a nice balance.
It's also by nature, like it's not like comedy isn't found in optimism. Like, I think things are gonna work out. It's not
Yeah, there's never been a roast that's like, Lucas is so nice, I want to kiss him.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know why that reminds me. Did you see like Daniel Tosh had like a fake roast of himself, but it was just people saying, "You're so hot, you're amazing at comedy, your dick is huge, I can't compete with you." It's just like it's by nature, like pessimism just fits. Artful pessimism is kind of what comedy is, basically.
Yeah. And it just like makes you feel like, I think comedy just makes you feel less alone.
Yes.
Because if you're feeling very, very sad or frustrated with something about the world, and then someone else brings another frustrating thing from their life, you're like, oh, at least I didn't deal with alcoholism. Moving on.
Oh my God, yes. I
mean?
love when you go up at a mic and someone's like, I used to do heroin in the bathroom every day, and they have material about it. It's like, someone's buzzing. They're probably, that's the comic I was talking about. Yeah.
I thought that was a landline. I was like, wow, Gabby.
Oh yeah, I'm so old.
I have a landline that's gone off while recording.
You have a landline? I thought that was your buzzer that one time.
No, that was a phone.
Who calls you?
Uncles.
No.
Yeah.
Just family. It's not.
Uncles love the landline.
They do, yeah. But no, I do have a on my website. I have like a number that's separate from my cell phone, and I put that available on my website so that I can have like a number people can call, but it's not like my cell phone. It's not the one I use.
Who calls you from that?
Sometimes it really is mainly just like family, friends, and stuff.
Okay.
That is, but yeah. I don't have anything else to offer. There's no secret.
TikTok people just hit you up on TikTok. They don't call the landline.
I was gonna say, if people on TikTok,
they send telegrams. They send telegrams and carrier pigeons.
They do it by smoke signal. In terms of feeling less alone doing comedy, like, talk a little about that, like meeting people at mics and just like finding friends in New York. Well, I guess, you know what, we'll back up a bit. How did you get to New York in the first place from Boston?
Oh, so I had decided I was going to move to New York after college. Didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I didn't have a joke. Obviously, I wasn't even doing comedy at the time. I didn't have one joke on my
I didn't have a single joke. I was serious the whole time. No smiles. Went to New York without a smile on my face.
I went up to the open mic and I read statistics.
No, but this kind of connects to what you asked earlier, Gabby's like how I ended up in this like part of politics is I just saw an email on one of like the mass mailing lists during graduation week that was like, oh, are you interested in diplomacy? I was like, why, yes, I am. And then I found out about this job. And then I applied and moved to New York kind of with the hope that I would get it. So the thing is I'm on a visa in the US. I'm not like I don't have a passport or a green card, but luckily if you study in the US, you get 1 year of what they call optional practical training, OPT. So you can work for a year without having to go through visa processing and work authorization stuff through the US immigration system. So it's not like anyone would have to sponsor you to hire you. And that's how a lot of people get internships, or at least international students get internships after college.
Yeah, and those can be
Gotcha.
so prohibitive. I've heard that, like, I've heard of people who can't work in anything outside of their field. So if
Yes.
they want to
Yeah.
work at the grocery
Mhm.
store, like, you can't. You have to get an arts internship, and none of them
Yeah.
pay. So
Yeah, exactly. So I was lucky that I actually switched to government and wanted a job in international relations. You have to do, it's called an H-1B. For that visa, you have to work in a field that you studied.
mm,
Um, yeah, so I moved and then interviewed, got a fellowship at the place that I'm working, and I've since like risen to like a more senior role. Um,
Do you
it
have
was
people working under you?
ooh,
we've kind of like shrunk. I have had people work under me. So fellows or interns who joined and work on my file.
it's
What was
weird
it
that you
like?
make them work underneath you.
Yeah.
Oh, all the time. I'm always on top of the desk. They're under the desk.
I like the
Always
idea of just like
massaging
having
your feet.
I like the idea that you have like an extra tall desk and then like, you know, that pump on your desk chair that you just go straight up almost to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And you have like an assistant with a grab arm. Give me a glass of water, and they have to like just.
They have
Yeah,
to
the
send it up those little, like, you know, those staircase things that like the old people climb on in the
Oh, those like moving chairs that go.
yes, the moving chairs.
Yeah.
They have to
Up
move
the-
like a glass of water up the chair to get to your desk.
But Shatha, I wanted to ask, like, the first time you had people working under you, like, what was that like? Did you feel nervous about like acting in a boss position, or because I'm imagining myself doing it, and I would be nervous about like having that kind of power.
Yeah, I wasn't I'm not like a I think we're all egotistical to a degree, but I definitely try to rein in the ego. But I look at it as this is someone who is working with me, not under me, but also there's someone who I'm hiring because I think they can help the team. Right. Because the more you can,
Right.
like, the more you can delegate, the less you can do. Like, we all just want to do a little less than what we're currently doing. Right. I think where I struggle is if you're not someone who just gets it the way I would, or if you're not someone who's progressing or understanding Syria or Yemen the way I did, I find it hard to explain to you. And like, I'll come up with like two different ways, maybe three, to explain to you what I need from you. And if you don't get it, it's going to be a little difficult.
Yeah.
But it is especially what I do, it's a little less research focused. Like, all we learn in college, if you do political science, is research papers, literature review. You throw that out the window when you go into politics in this way. And you're just looking at like policy memos. Who are you advising? How do you structure the memo in a way that they'll grasp it and actually listen to you? And everything you produce is like really 2-3 pages max. Like, that's just it. You want people to actually read it.
So it's a lot of like consolidating information.
Lots of that. Yeah. And understanding over time, like, I'm sure Trump's advisors, right? I don't know, what did they do? Did they insert like pictures in the memos or something? I don't know.
Actually think they had to. Like, I'm not kidding.
Probably. Yeah. So it's about understanding who you're advising.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's not something that comes naturally to people who do study political science unless you've taken specific classes in it.
Is that what you would change about how political science is taught in college, is to get people not so much doing research papers, or is that just like a necessary part? Doing that.
I think it is a necessary part because a lot of people move on to work in think tanks. So they're always researching, and that's helpful. Not everyone ends up in a role like I do, but a lot of people do. I think most people go back for a master's. So what I did is my senior year of college, I dropped my thesis, and instead of doing a thesis, I took graduate level classes at the Kennedy School. So I did take classes on negotiation.
Gotcha.
And I tried to take as many of the things that I would have taken had I gone back for a master's, and just tick that. And so I had a little bit more background on how to write memos and things.
That makes a lot of sense, because I do feel like sometimes in American education, like, we just get taught a lot of like impractical stuff. Like, I feel like when you were talking about your like background learning math and science from a young age, I was so jealous, because like I feel like we learned algebra, and we learned it in the sense of like, X equals whatever, you're like, okay, I'll plug in a number to this equation and it'll work, and it doesn't. And then you get into like an AP class or something, you learn more about math and science, and you realize like math is the world. Like math is everything around us. Math is like the coffee cup. This is a fucking equation, like the roundness of this, and there's 40 different variables, and in like dimension 4, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. And I feel like if I'd learned that from the jump, I would have loved math. I would have thought it was sick as hell.
That's interesting, because I had a very opposite thing where I thought that I felt over time that I was taught too much math, weirdly, in that I thought that it was, not that it wasn't.
Well, I went to LaGuardia, so we didn't learn anything. We learned how to do drugs.
That's a very important skill.
Snort cocaine like this.
Plug one nostril. No, but I definitely, there were a number of times where I thought that I'm just the classic thing of like, oh, I'm never going to use this. It's not useful to me, even though like it is just a good thing to have learned, to be in the backlog of just like your general knowledge of the world and how to apply stuff. Like I was so furious that I was never taught to like do taxes or like, just basic, or even like cooking, that I think is such an important skill that I know so many people that just don't know how to cook. And that's a thing that just no one is really taught, or just very, very much more applicable stuff that a lot of that we sort of assume kids to know, but or to learn at some point, but is never taught. And that is something that we take for granted and we need to actually teach shit like that.
Did you take physics?
I did take physics in high school. Yeah.
Okay. But for you, it like doesn't connect to cooking?
Not as much. I mean, like physics, I remember about like learning about like force and how gravity adds to like the force of like if a ball is like rolling down a hill and like gravity pulls it down, that it adds to the force as it goes across, and calculating the amount of distance it will cross and the mass and everything. So that's what I remember from physics, but it wasn't really about like in chemistry, I learned about like how heat changes the chemical composition of stuff and releasing oxygen and carbon and stuff, but that didn't really relate to cooking that much. I meant just more on a nutrition and just a life skill based.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I hear you. I do think just like we do put a lot of pressure on revamping our educational curriculums, and I mean, I'm not an expert. You guys should have someone who can talk to this, because that would be very interesting.
That would be sick as hell.
You definitely should. Yeah.
Especially because we get some like high school age listeners who are kind of not just in the US, like across multiple places. And I bet. Yeah.
Because I do think we can't put so much pressure on like that one phase of learning in our lives to teach us everything that we need to know.
And yet it is the most formative years.
Absolutely.
Is it though? I think college is more formative.
College was the time in my life that I had the best time, because I met my best friend.
Because you did cocaine.
No, I didn't do cocaine until after. I did it first in college. But because I learned that I didn't know anything. And that to me was the most important lesson of all. I do feel that, and let me know, I'm curious what you think of this. Like, I think that the highest marker of true intelligence is knowing that there is always more to learn about your own opinion.
Right.
That whatever you think about something, no matter, like, the more well-researched something is, the more you will think about it and question it. And like, and not even in terms of like human rights or justice, because obviously that is something where it's like we're starting from the baseline empathy level of like all human beings deserve to have basic human rights. But like the more you think about something, the more you almost question the logistics around it or how it could be better. And that to me was the greatest lesson that was formed for me in college, because in high school, I thought I'm going to have a superiority complex and brag to everyone about how I have good grades. And that's what's going to make me smart. As it turns out, that's what makes you an idiot. That's what makes you dumb. And now I'm like, I can't read. And like, that to me is the joy of life, to be able to feel like I'm stupid and not perform intelligence anymore.
No, Shatha, there is something I wanted to ask you about, but like, I totally had that sort of like superiority complex. That's something I had when I was 14. And then a friend of me was like, hey, you're being an asshole. Stop being like this.
At 14?
At 14, yeah.
That's
it was within
so cool.
like first couple of weeks of high school that I realized that I had that like superiority complex, and it was just like very quickly nipped in the bud. And it was a very valuable experience. But Shatha, I wanted to ask you if in living in America and like meeting people like us, is there anything in like that
meeting
we
assholes like me and Luke?
yes. Is there any difference you've noticed between like, besides like a focus on like STEM, is there any big difference between like the schooling system in America versus Palestine? Perhaps something you think that is better done back home?
Better done back home.
Or just a difference in general?
Yeah, okay. A difference in general, we don't learn really any history.
Wow.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's like our understanding of history is very limited. Like I remember we had a social studies teacher and she'd force us to do outside reading. And on Tuesdays, all the kids and their moms would be at the public library pissed because they didn't want to have to deal with like doing extra research outside of the curriculum. I don't know if this is just I'm just going to talk about Palestine. I don't know how it is in other places in the Middle East, but in Palestine specifically, what I was told is so UNESCO is a UN agency and they've reviewed the Palestinian curriculum and to ensure that there was no incitement to violence towards the other side in the curriculums of both sides, I'm told, right? But so you're not taught about Palestinian history, and you're also not taught about World War II because World War II led to the state of affairs in Palestine. So I only learned about World War II in junior year of high school when a Australian journalist came to teach at the school for a year and was like, what do you mean you guys don't know about this? Like, that's where you are.
Whoa.
That's why you're where you're at right now.
Wow.
What was your reaction to learning about
what was
World
that
War II?
moment like?
No, so it's weird because I don't know what it is because my dad was taught all of that, but he had a Jordanian curriculum growing up. So he found it odd. Like literally the extent of our history lessons was about like the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Who cares? And here, like, memorize these 4 bullet points about why it was important or what led to the Industrial Revolution. Like that was
it. Buildings.
The cotton gin.
No, exactly. And so that was one thing. So I thought we had like a lot less choice when it came to history, social studies. And so when I went to college, like writing and understanding that and just reading like very long texts that feed into like our political science curriculum was very new. So that's something that I think, because it does inspire critical thinking. Like you were saying, Gabby, because you know about the history of science, you know that scientists weren't always right about everything, right? So you know who the F I am I to think that I know everything right now.
The earth is flat though.
Totally. We know this to be true. And anyone who says otherwise can like not subscribe to the Patreon because we don't want them on the Patreon.
It's a flat earther Patreon.
But so it all makes you as an individual, I think, less you-centric and more open to just not being so defensive when someone brings up another point of view.
Right.
You know, we're just so, because I think part of it is we grow up in a system where we're valued based on our grades and just being right. And you're like, no, but I know it's A. And you're like, okay, forget that you circled the right option. Let's think about what it actually means. So I think that ingrains some defensiveness in people. So I think the US does that better. Palestine, our science curriculum is just more rigorous. Like I was taking stuff freshman year at Harvard that I had already covered in high school, in chemistry and bio. So I don't know what it is, because on top of our own curriculum, we also do the TOEFL, SAT, SAT 2s, and AP exams. But that's just your curriculum. Do you know what I mean? Like that's all you need to do in your senior year. And that for us is an additional thing if you want to go to school in the US.
Goodness me.
No, I remember in middle school there was this girl. She had moved. She was Israeli, I think. She'd moved from the Middle East, and she was like the best at math that I'd ever seen anyone be. And everyone thought she was like such an inherent genius and like so smart and treated her with such reverence. And she was like, "You guys don't understand. Like we just did this in 4th grade.
Yeah.
I just know algebra. Like don't." It's fine. Like
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I had one. There was one like kid in middle school. His name was Henrik. He was from Norway. He could solve Rubik's cubes, and that made me really envious. And that's why I wanted to learn Rubik's cubes. But yeah, he also, I don't know how, like his parents were divorced. Like they lived across the world, so he came to do like middle school in Brooklyn for some reason. But yeah, he also was a lot better at certain subjects. We were just like, how? And he was like, oh, we're just better. Just like he didn't say that, but it was something to that effect.
We are better than you. Solving a Rubik's Cube is something I've always found to be like this interesting shorthand for intelligence. It's like, it's kind of like when you watch Sherlock or something and like they show these graphics above his head of like numbers going off and it's supposed to be shorthand for what a genius he is. But isn't a Rubik's Cube just like you learn a pattern and you just kind of do it?
It's just learning a series of patterns, knowing which ones to apply in certain configurations, and that's it.
That actually reminds me, what, Shatha, is there one thing you've gotten really into in quarantine that's a similar kind of like hobby to that? Like Rubik's Cube, puzzle, like some just weird, wacky thing.
Weird, wacky thing.
A relationship. Hey.
Yeah, who you fucking?
That's the most difficult cube to solve.
Whoa. Oh, hey.
Hold on. What did I do this quarantine? So the thing is, my baby sister, she's not a baby, she's in college, but she, like March 2020, I had to go pick her up from campus because they were shutting down all the dorms. Mm-hmm. But the border to Palestine was closed. So she ended up living with me for 6 months.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah. And this is my sis. So she is 9 years younger than I am. So by the time she matured, I was already in college. So we never like really lived in the same house as like two humans.
People, like two real
exactly.
people.
So that was really cool, actually. I mean, maybe she felt like she was forcing herself on me, but it was nice to spend time with her and figure out how to live together.
Did I meet her at Eastville at a show of yours? Did she come to shows?
While she was here, it was like complete lockdown, so we didn't have any shows at the time.
Well, I'm pretty sure you had like a sister that I met.
Yeah. So I have 2 sisters, and both of them are in the US.
Okay.
So one of them is in New York, and I get her to come to a lot of my shows. So you probably met her.
Gotcha.
And then I have a younger sister who's in college.
Right. Okay.
No, but it was cool because she came and she wanted to start a YouTube channel, and she's like singing now and like posting videos. But then apparently it was my job to provide studio time for her. So she loved it whenever I would just evacuate the apartment. She's like, yeah, I think you should go to Trader Joe's and maybe do some laundry. And I could knock out like
laundry at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
You were like getting sexiled, but with singing.
It literally. And she'll be upset if I came back and she didn't get through the like 4 songs that she had on her plan. So that was cool. I don't know if I got into anything specifically. I started making like keto pizza.
That's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Like that became my thing because I'm addicted to pizza, I think. And I went keto at the beginning of the lockdown. And I just like committed to it.
What is keto again? Remind me.
Very low carbs. So maximum of 25 grams of carbs a day or 25 grams of sugar a day. And yeah, so it just took a lot of like relearning.
What do you use instead of like the pizza crust? Do you use cauliflower? What do you do with keto?
So you do almond flour.
Ooh, yum.
With like a lot of cheese.
Mm.
So when the cheese melts with the almond flour and an egg, it kind of creates like a crust. Like, you know, those like
Ooh.
healthy chips that are made of cheese that they just melt
Yes.
and they're crunchy.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
like that.
Oh, that sounds delicious. I have a baked ziti in the fridge. Last night I was stoned and I was
Great transition, Gabby. I have carbs in the fridge.
yeah, I'm not. I was thinking like, why do the Italians give a fuck about memorializing like Christopher Columbus when baked ziti is right there? Like, baked ziti is better than colonization. Like, they should have statues of fucking ziti.
You guys should make a t-shirt of that.
Baked ziti also never dies. You get to recreate it all the time. Whereas Christopher Columbus, he's dead. You can't make him again. Which you wouldn't want to, but still.
No, you wouldn't want to. Today he'd be an asshole. He'd walk into the mic and be like, "Give me 10 minutes, and this is my mic now."
He'd walk around with no mask and be like, "What's the deal with all the masks?
Was there a lockdown or something?" Shatha, has your family seen you do stand-up? And if so, what do they think?
No. So,
God.
so I started stand up fairly like recently, I think. Lucas,
How
you and I
recently?
started November 1st, 2019 was my first mic.
Okay, I maybe like just a couple months before you. So
Yeah.
right there.
Because you took that like stand up class, right? You told me in the summer or late summer.
Yeah, we had, and Gabby also had a class with the same teacher, and we had
teacher. Yeah, we had her on the pod.
Linda.
Oh, really? That's so cute.
It was really nice.
It was incredible. Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah,
Gabby, when did you start?
I started probably like a few months before Lucas doing it in earnest. Like, I think it was May 2019. But I had kind of had a soft start like in college. I would basically do these bringer shows, which we talked about last week. For listeners who don't know, it's like where you have to bring a certain amount of people to a club to watch you do comedy. I would do these bringer shows, and then I would never do mics, but I would do the bringers every like 3 months or something. And I feel like everyone doing those shows was kind of in the same boat. Like, nowadays when like I'll go to a friend's bringer, like I'm like, I've never seen any of these comics before, and I feel like that's why. So it's like I'd kind of softly started in 2014, but I'd never be like, I have 5 years experience, because obviously not. I'm probably like a year and a half or 2 years in.
Yeah.
I was only just reminded that like at bringer shows, I was like, where did all these people come from? And I never thought about that before. I was just like, oh, there's just more comedians I didn't know. But I realized every time that I either saw or was in a bringer show, it was like mostly people that I'd never seen before.
It's because they're asked to come to the bringer, but they're like not really open mic comedians, because I feel like most open mic comedians talk to each other, and there's a whisper network of like, you should avoid bringers if you can, if you're desperate for a tape.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, whoever's going to the bringers, good for them. They actually have family and friends who will come out to shows for them.
I remember last year in February, I did 3 bringers on back-to-back Saturdays. Hold on, I'm gonna mute.
Whoa, 3 on back-to-back Saturdays. That's crazy. I definitely want to do one at some point to just get a tape. But yeah. But wait, when you said a specific date for your first mic, like, do you have like a first mic story that you very specifically remember?
Oh, okay. So I should backtrack a bit. So I started doing improv maybe in 2017. So I did improv and sketch. And then because of my visa stuff, I was going to have to leave the US. So in the summer, I was like, okay, you'd be an idiot if you lived in New York but never tried stand-up. And I was doing comedy. So I was like, I'll just try stand-up. So I did do a mic in June, right? I did do one in June. And then I did a couple that month. And I did a joke on my first mic, and someone stole that joke. And I saw him doing it like a week later at another mic. I don't do it anymore. I don't think it's that funny anymore, obviously.
You got to tell us who this is off camera.
Yeah, I'll tell you off camera. He's not in the scene anymore, really.
Okay, but still, I want to know the name.
Was it Carlos Mencia?
I really hope it was like the most specific thing ever. So he was like, "Hey, so growing up in Palestine was like."
And everyone's like, what? You look like you're from Jersey.
Working in intrastate relations. You? You sure?
It's crazy.
it's-
They call it concentrations instead of
No, and he came up to me after the mic and he's like, just to clarify, I didn't do your bit. I did my riff off of your bit.
Oh my
Ugh.
God.
I was like, okay, I hope that helps you when you sleep at night.
Cool.
Yeah.
Credit me and like give me a royalty every time you make money off of this. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So then I stopped doing it. And then I was like preparing to leave the US. And then I didn't have to leave the US. My visa stuff got sorted. And then I kind of just didn't do it. It is intimidating getting into the open mic scene. And
What was it
figuring
like the
things
first
out.
time, or how nervous were you, or like what did it
Oh
feel
my
like?
God, I was so nervous. I was so nervous. A friend of mine at the time, who's since moved to LA and doesn't really do comedy, she's the one who told me about it. We used to write sketch together. And she told me there's a mic that's happening. Come if you want. I was like, okay, cool. I'll let you know if I do. I went home. I wrote some stuff. I wrote some stuff down, like turned out to be 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm just not going to tell her that I'm going so I cannot enter if I choose not to. So I got there and I was at the door. I was like, okay, I could leave if I wanted to. Like, Ryan doesn't know I'm coming. And then I just went. He's like, okay, you want to go up? I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to pay? So then I just did it and it was fine. I just did some stuff about Jesus. That's the joke that the guy stole. But it was okay. But, I went into stand-up and I went into comedy not thinking this is the end all be all. Like, I'm not like a lot of people who thought this is what I'm destined to do. I just think you're like destined to do multiple things. And I have done multiple things. So it's not like there's pressure on one thing to work. Like now I'm not as invested in policy and I don't think I'll do it like long term. It's kind of depressing. But I'm glad that I did it. And maybe there's something down the line that I think I want to do. But comedy to me just seems like the culmination of a lot of things that I've liked, that I've done. Right. So I like the public speaking aspect of it. I like the internal reflection about it. I like writing. I actually do enjoy writing. It's not as fun writing policy memos endlessly, but like I do enjoy it. I think you guys know I was thinking of doing law school for a while.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you talking to me about that.
Yeah. So then with that, you're just thinking of positions and trying to get the jury on board. I think with comedy, you're trying to get the audience on board, right? You tell them this ludicrous thing, whatever it is. And you're like, no, but hear me out. And you try to convince them with analogies and storytelling and public speaking that they should side with you. So it just feels like the culmination of a lot of things that I like. And I am very committed to it. But it wasn't like there was this immense pressure on that mic to give me like validation or for me to think, okay, this is something that I'll do.
That's way healthier than my first mic because I was just like a ball of nerves. I was like, this is because in my mind, I was like, this is the thing that I've been obsessed with ever since I'm 13, ever since I was 13. I've worked on this as I built it up and put so much of myself and like not enough like scope to think like, oh, this is just like the first time. There's also other stuff in your life. It's
your first mic was after the class you took?
Yes, it was after the class. So I had like material that I could have like my bank and then like try new stuff, like inserting into that stuff and then just like build upon that. So, which I think was definitely good for me. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. But, not to say that I wasn't nervous. I was like, okay, I need to say something worthy of saying in these 5 minutes. And you see people who are just like much more comfortable doing it. I remember seeing like Usama Siddiqui very early on. I was like, damn it, I want to be like Usama. And he was at an open mic. So I just thought like he was at our level. And then you realize, oh, he's been doing this for like a decade. I was like, oh, that makes me feel so much better.
You realize that all comics have to, I hate when people are like, it's like the gym, but like, it kind of is like the gym. You kind of have to flex that muscle. Like I haven't really been doing any indoor shows in the winter. So I went up for the first time in person since like October yesterday night. And like my material was solid enough because I've been doing Zoom for a while, but it's different. It is
Yeah.
like feeling out the energy of the crowd, making sure that you're
Yeah.
like connecting with everyone. Like there is something that like you need to go up very, very often to really harness. And that's
Yeah.
like something it's something that I mean, I love being like, as Maxim Allen calls it, a dog shit open micer. He says we're all dog shit open micers at the end of the day, but like I do not wish to ever again experience being at a hostile mic for the first time, because you don't know what you're doing. You
Mm.
don't know
Right.
why what you're doing isn't landing.
Yeah. And you don't know why they're not listening to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You
That's
don't
a big
realize
part
that
of
they're
it.
like, this is their third mic of the night. They're all half
Yeah.
asleep and they're all looking at their own notes. You have to make people pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes they just won't.
Yeah.
And you have to, and the first time you won't know that that's just the norm and people are just there to do their bit and go home. And it's not a reflection of how you're doing. But the
Oh
first
my
time you're
God,
like,
yeah. And you'll think it's your
I
fault. For me,
shit.
it was like, oh, is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm queer? Is it because I'm, I don't know, Jewish in New York? Obviously, it's not oppressed, but it's like,
Yeah. But
I'm
especially
yeah.
no, but one small thing is that like I remember there was a time where I was working in my bedroom and that made it so that I didn't feel relaxed when I tried to go to sleep. And so like just I can't like mix environments. Like if I need an area where I work and an area where I sleep, I need like that physical separation. So like
Yeah.
and so if you do like a lot of Zoom comedy and then you take a huge break, like just like your senses sort of modify to like fit Zoom. And so moving yourself back, it like all of the you've adapted so well to one medium that like it's hard to it takes a while to get yourself back into like the live, like understanding like how to riff off people in person, even just like timing of dealing with like the Zoom lag. I think that is something that you even have to adapt to. And so like when we go in person, Gabby, we might be like if we keep saying like how in sync we are right now, but it might be like we're just like stumbling over each other because we've just adapted to like a second's
maybe I'll
internet
hate
lag.
you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did flag when I saw you in person last night. I was like, Lucas is taller than I remember. I was like, Lucas really is quite tall. And then I feel like I said the same thing to Maxim because he looked tall and he was like, you're short.
Oh. Is he like, wow, Gabby, you're tinier than did he actually say that?
I think though that a lot of people have said that about me when they've just seen me on Zoom, and then because I feel like on Zoom I'm always like this and I'm always able to like make myself look very imposing.
Is that how you do your Zoom shows?
Just the
no,
let me just fix the camera.
Like this. What's the deal?
Great pores.
Oh yeah, no, my pores are wide open right now. I need to do a mask.
That reminds me, I actually have a green clay mask that I haven't used in a while. I need to do that.
Green clay mask.
Oh yeah, I saw a video about it, all about it on BuzzFeed. A lot of people trying it.
Oh,
The
nice.
Aztec clay mask, it's good. I have the brush as well that I like painted on my face.
10 reasons why.
Oh, a brush. Nice.
Oh, a brush.
I've never gotten a
fancy.
brush.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a skincare go-to? And then we'll go into listener submissions.
Yes.
This is
Yes. I'm
most
excited
low
about
stakes
that.
conversation. Yeah. What's your skincare routine?
Oh, skincare routine. Very minimal. I don't wear makeup.
Same.
I wash my face twice a day with like a
Nice.
very like medical cleanser, or the First Aid Beauty one. Like I use that a lot. At night, I put on a moisturizer with no sunscreen. Obviously, no SPF in it. That one's like a very dense moisturizer. It's like kind of gloopy. Morning, I do SPF 50 or 70. That's it. And then every Sunday, I do a ritual mask. I sit in the tub.
Ritual mask.
Yeah, I have to do it every Sunday, like before the work week. And I do like a lot of Glossier masks.
Wait, I don't know
Love
what that is. Is it like one of those like paper ones that you drape over your face?
So Glossier is like it's a skincare makeup brand. And they do very natural looking makeup, very like I really like their skin products. So it's like it has like a grainy thing in it. You know what I mean? Like those little pebbles that are supposed to help with exfoliating. And it is a green clay mask.
Gotcha.
So maybe we have the same one. I don't know if it's the same one.
No, it doesn't have like graininess to it.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
it becomes like a fairly smooth paste.
Oh, okay. So yours doesn't have pieces of shit in it. Okay, fine,
No.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then
Lucas is better than us. I see.
I saved the exfoliation for like washing my face before applying the mask. That's what I do. There's
Oh,
a very
interesting.
particular, I also have a fairly strict skincare routine that if I don't do it, I honestly will not be able to sleep at night. I'll just be thinking about like, oh my God, what's my skin gonna look like tomorrow if I don't do it.
Do you wash your face twice a day?
Twice a day, yeah.
Twice,
No,
but actually like wash it.
Yes.
Okay. No, because most guys are like, yeah, but I shower.
Were you just looking at me like being like, he doesn't? I'm looking at his skin right now.
No. Because most guys, they're like, oh, but water touched my face when I showered.
Right.
Oh yeah, no. Well, the thing is, like, I had very severe acne in high school, and it was worse in college. And then so that made me very ritualistic. Also, changing my bed sheets and my pillowcases, I'm very consistent about because I need to.
Wait, how often are we supposed to change them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I should change mine.
I'm weirdly anal about it. So I have like four pillows on my bed. And so like I change the pillowcases like every 2 weeks, but like imagining like they're like, this is two pillows like this. After a week, I do like that. So like I flip them both.
Okay.
And so that I get a fresh side every week.
Okay. Pillowcases are something that's like sensitive for me because I love pillows. I'll get like this is the most feminine thing about me is every time I see a pillow I want to buy it. And then when I moved in with my girlfriend, she was like, 2 pillows, one for you. That's her outside.
Just growling.
She's a motorcycle.
She's like, one for you, one for me. 2 pillows on this bed. That's it. And I was like,
wow.
Because I know that the other pillows aren't necessary. I know that they just interrupt me when I sleep, but they look nice.
No, when you prop yourself up on your bed, you need more than 2 pillows. If you're both sitting on the bed reading, you need 4 pillows.
Yeah. That's what we have these like stuffed animal logs for.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll show for anyone watching.
You like cuddle, like you sort of like wrap yourself around
cute.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, it's like we'll prop them over our heads when we're watching The Circle.
Yeah. I've come to something I've started doing is I like bunching up the blanket a little bit to like put in between my knees because I like my legs separated. I like that a lot.
Lucas never closes his legs. Slutty man.
Yeah, I do a full split on the subway. I take up the whole row of seats.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah. Everyone knows that's the splitty guy.
Yeah. I take
manspreading.
Yeah.
Something about manspreading that's interesting, by the way. One last thing is at the mic last night, this guy was talking about how like when Hillary Clinton met Vladimir Putin, the first thing she said about him was like, he's manspreading. And in my head, I was laughing. I was like, yeah, that's the worst thing he's ever done.
Where was he manspreading?
Or is that like code for Chechnya? Just
he's manspreading his influence on the region.
Oh my God.
He's probably the nicest way to describe
annexing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh. No, I remember I tried doing this as a bit, going like, I hate people who manspread on the subway, but I wish that that women knew how good it feels to manspread though. Like when you really just give yourself all the space to just open up your legs and you feel like your testicles unstick from your thighs, it feels amazing.
That sounds nice.
It feels
it doesn't
so good.
I can kind of relate. I can just imagine because it's very weird what you have to walk around with as men.
Yeah. I can't imagine all of that. Just like, I mean, sweaty. We won't go into it. Let's go to listener submissions.
Sweaty, dirty.
Sweaty, dirty balls. Okay. One listener wants to know from us if we have any advice on how to stop procrastinating.
Oh, okay.
I don't, because I'm terrible at it.
I'm also very bad at it. I was talking about it with my therapist the other day about like how I wish that I could have someone who's external, who's not me, just make a schedule for me and say, all right, you have to adhere to this. You have to do this at this time, this at that time, relax at this time. And then I would be so much more inclined to follow it, knowing that it's like an external thing, almost like school or college or something, or work even, like, because like I pretty much make up my own schedule. I work from home. I do everything like basically when I choose to. And so it's so even if I say I want to get this done by a certain time, there's nothing stopping me from like postponing it and doing it later in the day. And so I naturally just procrastinate a lot. And so I offer no solution.
Given that I'm the smartest person on this
Yes.
podcast, I'll let you. No, but wait, Lucas, when you say like an external person, can that be a friend or a partner, or does
Could
it have
be.
to be an authority?
Honestly, it could be. Here's another thing is that just like way my brain works is I sort of assume other people have authority over me. Like
Okay,
if you like,
interesting.
even if it was just like
He's
you
a
said,
sub.
yeah, I'm just a natural sub, just a little beta cuck male in my daily. No, even if just a friend was like, all right, I've made the schedule for you, adhere to it. And then at the end of the week, say you did it. And then I'll be like, okay, I can do that. I would just,
Oh, okay. Okay.
it just, that would just work in my brain for some reason.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I do, because my boyfriend and I were in the same space and we work in the same space. We're pretty good at shaming one another when we either of us are on Instagram, because
Right.
that's
That
usually
sounds
just
good,
like
actually.
yeah. Someone,
Because I live alone. That's so I would
No one
Yeah.
can shame you.
yeah.
No.
You just need someone to be like, someone's on Instagram. What are you doing? Or like, what are you doing on Instagram? And if it's something to do with the show, you're like, okay, you've got like 10 minutes. And then if it's not, you have to get off it.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It does get annoying. Like I don't always welcome it. I'm on Instagram, okay? Fuck off.
Yeah.
But the best thing that I do for procrastination, and here's the thing, I'm such a procrastinator. I procrastinate using this tool that I know will help me procrastinate less. Okay. I use the Pomodoro timing technique, which is basically where you set a timer for 25 minutes. And in those 25 minutes, you're supposed to focus on one task that you have to get done. You can't do anything else. You can't have any like of the technology that distracts you. You can't talk to anyone. So if you're in the same room as someone, just tell them, we can't talk until this timer's off. So you do 25 minutes of focused work on one task. Don't try to multitask, because our brains aren't really wired for that. We have like a cultural obsession with being able to handle multiple tasks, but you can't even have like one thought in your head at one time, or more than one thought at one time.
I can't even have one, but most people can have more than one.
I know, Gabby, that about you. You can only have like half.
Half a thought at once. Yeah.
So you do 25 minutes of focused work, 5-minute break, 25-minute focused work, 5-minute break. And you do that for 4 cycles of 25 minutes. And after the 4 cycles, that's that's basically 2 hours of work. You take a 1-hour break.
Ooh.
I love that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a Pomodoro app. So Pomodoro.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if you don't have it, you can just like do that yourself. You can just have your phone time it, or Alexa time it for you, or whatever. But you just need to focus, and it almost gives you a deadline.
I like that.
And you feel great because you're like, oh, wow, in the span of these 2 hours, I actually have worked for the overwhelming majority of these 2 hours. Because sometimes I'll be sitting in front of my screen and trying to work, but it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So I do that a lot, especially if I'm trying to write, if I'm trying to edit, or if I'm trying to book people for shows. If I need to book people within 25 minutes, it gets done in 25 minutes. I'll just be like ragefully messaging people on Instagram, like, hey, you want to do this show on this time, this date? Blah, blah, blah. And that's it.
I love that. My old roommate was last year getting really into like something similar called single tasking, where it was like, if you're doing the dishes, like you don't listen to a podcast, you don't listen to music, you just do the dishes. And it wasn't even for productivity reasons. It was more of like, what is the experience of just doing something and being all in it?
Yeah.
Because I personally have not had that experience in years. Like I am always trying to like fit a podcast in, listen to some music, and it's because I like those things. But I wonder if I would like them more if I just focused on them.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing at a time.
I also have the anxiety because I love like a bunch of different comedy podcasts, and I'm worried about like missing them, or like because I want to keep up to date with them, and so I have that like added anxiety thinking like, oh, like I can fit this in while I'm doing this, or like I can take extra time and go on a walk and listen to it or stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Another
very bad
thing
at
about procrastinating is that, so I write scripts and sometimes I procrastinate because I think I'm just procrastinating, but deep down I know it's because I'm anxious that what I produce will not be good.
Mm.
So I have to, sometimes when
Interesting.
you're procrastinating, I do think you have to address whatever anxiety is holding you back. I had an old professor say that underneath boredom is other shit, which I always thought was really profound because it's true. Have you ever been like, I'm bored, and like deep down you're just sad about something?
Yeah.
Wow.
You just have to, so sometimes it's like actually more productive to, instead of just beating up on yourself for not working, just sit there and think like, why am I not working? What is holding
Yeah.
me back?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just
yeah,
think
yeah.
about that subject for like 10 minutes, get angry or sad about whatever it is, let it pass, and then see if it helps, because it
Yeah.
might.
Yeah.
That's a
yeah.
wonderful idea.
And I
Okay.
think we're just all so busy. Just I'll add one thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's so easy for us to get into the space where we have so much to do, we don't know where to start. And that just gets worse. I think a lot of why I can't start things is, like you said, Gabby, anxiety that I won't get the stuff done.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Definitely.
completely.
Okay, here is another one. Hey, Meerkats, I don't know if I'm straight or bi. I feel like I want to be I feel like I want to be bi more than I am, but I literally haven't left the house in months, so I don't know. Also, I'm a high school student and I have parental controls and oversight on all my devices, so I can't explore that much more. I don't know if I'm attracted to women. Some of my friends think maybe. For reference, I love Dodie, Cavetown, musicals, falsettos in all caps, Ben Platt, Girl in Red. You get the gist. Do you have any tests or things to
How
think
do
about
I
that
get
could
the
help?
gist from that? Those were like 5 disparate topics. I'm supposed to be like, oh, you're that kind of person. The Ben Platt loving Dodo, Girl in Red girl. Yeah, the classic. I know
Wait,
exactly
who
who
is
that is.
Dodie?
I don't
I
know.
literally thought Dodie Al-Fayed. Like, what?
I thought Dido, who did White Flag, which shows how old I am. You know that song that was like, there will be no white flag above my... Am I the only one?
I don't think I know that one. Oh God. That's, I mean, this submission was all over the place. This is
Someone said I want to be well,
yeah, well that needs to be explored more.
Shatha,
Like,
do you want to dive into this one? What do you think?
Okay, as a straight person, I'd love to take this on.
Yeah.
I feel like Gabby, you should take the lead on this one. But anyways, I'll chime in real quick. I think so. I understand this person knows they're definitely gay, but they're also confused
I don't
about
think
whether
the
they also
gender...
like women.
They think that they're... I think it's a... Sorry, that's like...
It's okay, go ahead.
Bisexual police. I think that this person is a girl and thinks that they definitely know they're attracted to men, and they're also wondering if they're
Attracted to females.
women.
Women.
Well, have you ever wondered? I know you're
interesting.
straight, but have you ever have you ever had like a girl
Never.
crush? Interesting.
I've never. Yeah, I feel like I'm very like on the spectrum. I'm very straight.
Yeah.
So I never like questioned that. Nothing has ever like caused me any confusion in that area.
Right.
So and I'm kind of grateful. So because the less confusion in my life, the better, you guys.
Yeah.
No,
representation.
Yeah. Straight pride parade.
Straight pride.
Listen, I've had so much in my life to be confused about. So
yeah,
Right.
no, that's a blessing. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty much exactly the same. Like, I never had any moments of confusion. I've never had a moment where I thought, am I attracted to this? I've really never had that. I have no idea what that's like. I remember talking to like a friend of mine in college who I think he was a little bit unsure about like him being bi, and he definitely is, because like he had hooked up with a dude at a party. They just like made out. And he was like, I think I'm pretty much straight though. He was like, I mean, it doesn't really mean it's also that I was like really repressed. You know, my parents were like super Catholic. That's a thing, you know? And I was like, I mean, I wasn't necessarily encouraged to be gay, but I've never looked at a dude and thought I wanted to kiss him. Like, I really wanted to I just never had that.
yeah.
So it was...
I didn't even like, for the longest time, I thought I was asexual or something. Because here's the thing.
You were so straight, you thought you were asexual.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even like guys.
Oh my God.
Because my thing is like, so I never dated anyone in high school.
Okay.
Never. And the only guys I ever liked, so I was always the smartest person in the class. I only liked the guy who was like number 2.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it was all about like grades. Like if you're smart, okay, I may give you a chance, but I never really liked anyone before college. So for a long time I was like, I don't even think this is my thing. Like, nah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were very, very selective in who you kind of gave a little more attention to.
Very, yeah. I just didn't have that whole like boy crazy phase
Yeah.
in school.
It's funny
That's
because
kinda
I
cool,
kind
though.
of did. It was like
Did you?
yeah, I feel like I always knew I was attracted to people and I just didn't know like
Uh-huh.
who they were. I think
You just knew you were horny. You were
I
just
just
like,
knew I was like, this is something and it needs to be addressed. But with whom? I don't know. I don't know if I'm the person to address this because I recently got like Twitter canceled and bullied off Twitter for like a funny take about bisexuals.
Oh no.
I literally forgot about that until now.
It was really weird, but I mean, it was like lesbian visibility day and like I just never want to be visible ever. So I was thinking like who loves to be visible? And it's like the image I had in my head is like not everyone, but like a very specific kind of straight girl with a boy or a bi girl with a boyfriend who's always like, I want a girl to come save me, and like Parker's just in the back, like I'm your boyfriend. You know? So I tweeted something like happy lesbian visibility day to bi girls with boyfriends. And I thought it was really funny and I did it at a mic and it was super like well received. But on Twitter, I feel like everything gets so flattened where like everything's very declarative, and that's why you get tweets that go viral like that's it, that's the tweet, or like let that sink in, because everything on Twitter is like an official statement from the user, you know.
Yeah.
And so jokes get flattened. So I had a lot of Gen Z people telling me I hated lesbians, telling me I hated bi people. They don't know I hate both. No. I'm joking, but like I started like
no, you're not. We know that.
Yeah, no, I am very phobic. Yeah, I just started fucking with people because I thought it was stupid, and I would tweet like baseball statistics back at them. They'd be like, you made this day not about lesbians. And I'd be like, you know what else wasn't about lesbians? Corey Seager's excellent night against the Philadelphia Phillies. Man, did he hit those home runs. And I think
didn't you tell me you do like fantasy baseball with like a bunch of old dudes?
Yeah, I do fantasy baseball with a bunch of men in their 40s, and I'm really good. I love baseball. It's like the weirdest thing about me. But people were like, literally like, kill yourself, go die, like you're ugly, you're not funny, like. And I literally like couldn't take it because I'm mentally ill. So I was like, okay, well then
Gabby.
I'm going to leave the internet, because like if this is how a joke can get misinterpreted, the only thing I would really apologize to those people for is being arrogant. I don't apologize for the joke because everyone knows I don't actually hate bisexuals. I am a little bit bisexual myself. And everyone knows I don't hate lesbians because I am in a monogamous relationship with a woman. And before that, I was in another monogamous relationship with a woman. So like everyone in the bottom of their hearts knows that I wasn't trying to oppress people. Don't put death threats in somebody's dimensions, guys who are listening. It really fucks a person up. It doesn't matter if it's like a Korean pop account with 42 followers. There's like a moment in someone's brain where you're like, this person's gonna come kill me. So just don't do it. Whatever you are, don't threaten to kill someone. Anyway, to address this person, if you want to be bi, maybe you are bi, maybe you just respect a lot of queer creators. I don't know.
That was something I kind of wanted to hit on. It was like, I was wondering if this person has like an idea of what it means to be bisexual, or just like sort of like idolizes people who are bisexual. I'm wondering if that's more of the focus than actual like how they actually feel and who they're attracted to.
Or that they want to be bi because they just want a definition for what they are.
Ooh.
And they're confused like where on the spectrum they lie. And it feels like bi encompasses more than gay to them.
That's a very smart answer, actually.
I think what this person ultimately needs is just the room to experiment. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Parental controls on all your devices. Like, you gotta watch porn when you're 16. You just have
Yeah.
to.
Hands down. Yeah.
It's the way of the world. It's like
The way we
It's
learn.
2021, parents, get with the times. Yeah.
if there's a way to tell a parent that they need to let you watch porn. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Where they're like finishing high school. If they're finishing high school, just like wait a year and then you'll have all the freedom you want,
Hold
hopefully.
on, let me go back. I'm a high school student and I have parental control, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It doesn't say like what point in high school or how old this person is, but in high school. So, I mean, get to college and experiment away. That's really it. And also, like, don't understand you're under no obligation to define yourself and your sexuality right now.
Exactly.
You're under no obligation to do that. And at no point in life are you really able to. Just or are you required to? So just
That's just for you.
Yeah.
As you start dating, I would say maybe even like if this label is kind of like fucking with your head, the idea of like, am I straight? Am I bi? What am I? Just date the people you like.
Yes.
Just go to attend your classes, go to your study group. I don't know what people do. Like go to shows or something or activities, obviously once you're vaccinated or distance, whatever, and just talk to people. And if you're attracted to someone, try and do something about it. It doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman or what.
If they reciprocate.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes.
Don't want you to get canceled again, Gabby.
It's too late.
Just do it. Just go for it. Just do something about it.
Here's what they say.
Just pull off, Gabby, just pull off your wig and just reveal that you're Ben Shapiro. Just do it.
Actually, Lucas, I always have been Ben Shapiro. All right.
I love that your first thing was like, I need to tap my nose.
He's always, what is it, pushing? Does he even have glasses?
No, he doesn't wear glasses.
Well, that's just what nerds do then. I fucked up. Let's see. Someone said, one of my mom's roles is a clinical director, which means she has to attend a lot of meetings. Poor her. True. Anyway, she was at a senior management thing on Zoom, which was very important and formal, etc., when the speaker just stood up from her desk, taking her laptop with her. Everyone was a bit confused, thinking she might have to get the door or something. But then, while continuing to talk about budgets and formal things, she set the laptop down and pulled on her coat. Then she walked out the door, still with the laptop, and proceeded to walk down the street. She goes on a 35-minute walk while still in the Zoom meeting and answering questions. She was just there in the corner, bobbing up and down the whole time. Meanwhile, my mom is texting her colleague, like, what the fuck is happening? Struggling not to laugh. Anyway, at the end of the meeting, someone says, thanks for the tour of the area, Samantha. Maybe next time someone can give us a tour of... They, like, made a joke about what area they lived in. To which Samantha replied, oh yeah, I just needed to go to the post office and thought I'd kill two birds with one stone. Looking very pleased with her ingenuity and totally oblivious to the weirdness and quite frankly, the rudeness of it all.
I like that a lot.
I love that these submissions are like stories. Like, hey, listen to what just happened to me.
Sometimes they just have dirt. Sometimes they just have like a little bit of whimsical dirt, and yeah.
Yeah, we tell people, like, give us low stakes drama that's happening in your life.
Yeah. Oh, wait, Shatha, so no doubt, like, did you have how much of your job was like done on Zoom? And if so, was there anything odd that happened on Zoom?
100% on Zoom. 100, like the past year has been so crap because there wasn't anything happening. Like I used to travel a lot. I used to travel almost like once a month to Brussels or Geneva before the lockdown, and I was meant to go to Abu Dhabi and some other places. So everything's just happening on Zoom. All the diplomats are just so jaded. Like you can be on meetings where no one turns on their camera. Like they don't even bother at this point. They're like, so I imagine someone just like cooking while they're dialed into the monthly briefing on Syria or something. But the weirdest thing that happened was there was this NGO and they hosted a virtual event. And I guess to make it easy for people, instead of sending dial-in instructions for everyone that registers, they just had it publicly. So you say, oh, take me to the meeting or like register. And you just are able to enter the Zoom. And it was a meeting about Yemen. And halfway through the meeting, all these like Russian bots infiltrated the meeting. And it was just boxes with porn scenes and videos in the
my
box.
God.
Like, I don't know how people do that. Like, their picture is a video of a woman being fucked. It was so crazy.
Well, just very quickly, I saw Gianmarco Cerezi's special on Amazon. Plug to him if anyone's listening or watching to check that out.
He's great. It's called Shelf Life.
Shelf Life, yes. And he talks about a Zoom bomber who put like child pornography on but took over like the main screen. So it was like his face and then like child pornography and then back to him. And he was like, what? Sorry. Like he had. It was. Yeah,
this was like 20 users at the same time, all with different like porn sounds.
Well, what an entertaining thing to happen at work.
So entertaining. And then it wasn't like the host of the meeting was like, okay, just shut it down. Someone typed into the chat and they said like, it seems to be that the meeting has been infiltrated. I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Thanks for letting everyone know.
Oh my God. That's like I always think about what would it have been like to be on that call in the New York Times where Jeffrey Toobin started jerking off. Best day of my life. It would be like, I'd be fucking dying.
It's a nice one where you're like, I'm watching history take place. It's like that.
Yeah.
Would you guys tell him? I wouldn't tell him.
No, I would be too. No, I would be just like, is this happening? I would just be like,
yeah, you'd be too much in shock.
I would be a little bit in shock, but I would also be like, I want to see this play out. I want to.
Or is this only happening for me, or is everyone seeing this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a private show. It's just.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Another crazy thing about Zoom is that I feel like the people who have the most responsibility at a company are the same people who are required to have the least etiquette on Zoom. And that is the deepest irony of all. Is like, I did an entire interview with a woman's forehead on Zoom. It was like this. And the whole time she's telling me about how I don't have enough experience for the job.
That's amazing.
I was like, but I'm showing you my face.
Oh no. Oh my God. All right, should we read just one more and then we will come to the end? Okay.
Yes.
Well, actually. Okay, yeah, so this is one mainly for Gabby, I think. Gabby has mentioned that she went to the same high school as Timothy Chalamet. On The Good Place, Tahani says she was at his bar mitzvah. Canonically, Tahani partied with some of Gabby's classmates. Gabby, if you met Tahani in high school, would you have been friends? If not, what clique would she have been in?
Ooh, that's really good.
Also, just for the record, I don't know who Tahani is.
Oh,
you haven't what? Get him off this call.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
There's now a good place, Kiki, with me and Shatha.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Tahani. Oh, from The Good Place. Oh, sorry.
No, don't pretend like you know her now.
No, I know Jamila. I for some reason I thought like
Tahani, is that sauce that goes on the falafel?
For some reason I thought that was like a musical artist, and then I was like, oh no, that's a character on The Good Place. But I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's I think Tahani, I'm thinking about her. She, I think, initially would have been friends with like the more popular drama majors, but they would have come to see her as annoying over time. And then gradually, I think she would have like joined all the AP classes to like start pursuing her charity work. And I think she and I would be passive friends. I think I would probably talk a lot of shit about her behind her back because I was really insecure in high school. And I would probably be like, she's so tall and she thinks she's so great. But I think that like in classes, we would like interact about the homework in a funny way. And then we'd never speak again after high school. That's my answer to that question.
Interesting. That was very well thought out.
Thank you. Do you think you would have been friends with Tahani in high school, Shatha?
No, because she's like a bit ditzy in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, it's all about your grades, whether you're friends with me or not.
In life. Listeners?
Because so the thing is, in my high school, we didn't have like the cool popular kids. Like that wasn't a thing. Because you could be You could be one of the girls or gals who are dating and like into makeup and stuff like that, but you didn't have the cachet of a smart person.
Ooh.
So you couldn't really
But
be
could you be
popular in
both?
that way. Well, you could choose not to date like I did. No. It didn't really happen. There seemed to be like some sort of segregation.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I like
Interesting.
that answer.
Yeah.
For me, well, I believe what you said, Gabby, about like her sort of like initially becoming sort of friends with like theater people, but not really like following through or staying close. And I only mixed with theater people when I was in high school. So I don't think I even would have crossed paths. It's also that my high school had like 4,500 kids. And so I think that she like, there are still people like, there's like a high school, like my class of 2013, like there are some people that like post on that page, and there are people that I'm like, I did not know you existed. And so I think that she's someone who I maybe just would have passed on in the hallway, maybe had a class with like calculus or something, and then I would never see her again.
Sad.
So my answer is a cop out. So yeah.
As always.
Yes.
Lucas always softballing these hard hitting questions.
Yep.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our pod. And this was such an amazing episode.
Oh yeah.
So thank you
so
so
fun,
much
you
for
guys.
being
Thank you
on.
for having me.
We could easily talk a lot longer. It's like time has flown by a lot.
Do you realize like we don't get to talk this much?
Yeah,
outside,
no.
like at mics and shows, like we barely see each other.
I know.
No, it sucks. Yeah, everyone's so transient. This is nice to like sit and have a conversation.
It's so wonderful. But Shatha, so at the end, we have a thing called a self-perception corner where we ask our guests to please describe how they believe they are perceived by other people. And then we shall tell you how we actually perceive you.
Oh, okay. I love this. I know how people perceive me. I think people think I'm arrogant because I can be a bit like, Lucas. Lucas like, what? I think people perceive me as arrogant because I'm not very talkative when I first meet people. Like if I don't know you, I just don't make the like the extra gesture to be very accommodating. Or if you talk to me, I'll be very curt. I'm also very private and protective of what I do and who I am. So if I don't know you too well, I just really won't talk to you, especially in like an open mic scene. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that, Gabby, like especially with guys, like guy comics I don't know, I'll say like very little.
Yeah, I think
myself.
There's a little bit of a bullet off of me in comedy because I talk about like being queer and my girlfriend. So like some people know like I've only been hit on by like male comics a couple times when like I've done material that's kind of not like I've left that out of my set. And the one time it like really came to a head, this guy asked me out at a mic and I like gave him my number, even though I knew that I kind of gave it to him to be polite. I knew it was not going to go anywhere. And then he WhatsApped me and then I said, just so you know, I'm in a relationship. I would really only like to be friends. And he just very politely was like, that wasn't really what I'm looking for, but like, you know, best of luck to you. And I was like, okay, well, that's respectful.
Right. Yeah.
It could be a lot worse for sure.
Yeah. No, Gabby, this actually is just me playing the long game with you. Yeah, I'm just this whole podcast is just
when we get to episode 100, you'll ask me out.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucas is so strategic.
Very.
No, episode 100 you proposed. Duh. Everyone knows that.
Okay.
That's what I had to do. Yeah.
Do you have anything else about your self-perception?
And people think I'm really smart just because of what they know about the work that I do or if they know about where I went to college.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I will go first. Shatha, I remember when I first met you. I think it was at like in Greenwich Village Comedy Club. I think that's maybe where I first like maybe spoke to you or like because I'd seen you a few times, but I think that might have been where I actually first like met you and spoke to you. And I
thought we spoke at Eastville.
We probably did. But for some reason, I remember one time seeing a set you did at Greenwich Village Comedy Club and you got really angry. And it was, I really liked you being angry. I thought it was really fun to watch.
What was it about? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I wish I did, but I don't. But it was because I just remember you as like someone who's like very composed and just make you go, ah! Like I just seeing you be like that. I was like, this is nice. This is a fun side. This is good. No, that I definitely saw you before that, but no, in terms of like, because you saying that you think you come across as arrogant, I thought that you were shy. I didn't get arrogance, I got shyness. And I think that might be just like me sort of imposing my own self and how I react and how, like, if I was to behave, definitely I thought if I was to behave like Shatha, how would I feel? And I thought, oh, I would probably be shy. That's why. And so
And it does come from shyness too.
Right.
Like I can be very extroverted and like, oh, I want to talk to everyone. And I'm like, I have the energy to do it, but most times I don't.
Right.
Especially like after work or going to a mic. And in the early stages where you don't really know that many people, I'm just so nervous about my set. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how do I maximize my 5 minutes up there? And that's it.
Yeah. Definitely I see you as someone who's just like very particular, not particular about everything, but like likes to get things done in a very orderly and efficient way, and is very organized. And I'm still just thinking about like the Pomodoro app. I'm thinking, oh, I need that. But like you seem like you have a lot figured out, and you're very focused.
Oh, I appreciate that. I sometimes feel like I don't have anything together. No, but especially when I was like working full time. Well, I am still working full time, but when we had to go to the office and be around, I did feel like I have to be like super organized, like I on top of all the mics, signing up for everything like the weekend before, because I can't just go to a mic, wait around, maybe get on,
right,
and then go home. You know, I used to go to the Creek in the Cave 11 p.m. mics.
Yeah,
Like
just
after working all day. Yeah, but then you know, but you're exhausted because I would usually get up at like 1 a.m. Like, what am I doing? And then the next morning you're up by
3 minutes
8.
there, right?
Yeah.
Goodness.
But
anyway, Gabby.
I definitely, when I first saw you, I feel like I had a little bit of that, like, and I hope you take this as a compliment, like a little bit of that girl competitive thing of like, I think one of the first thing you mentioned was that you like worked at the UN and went to Harvard, and I was like, God damn it, is she gonna also be funny? Like funny and smart and pretty. I was like so mad at you.
We met at your mic, right?
Yes, we met at Anne Hathaway.
Love that mic.
And then I saw your set and I was like, oh, this material is really funny and polished. And then I kind of got over that and I was like, this is great. Like, I really like this person. And then I think I kind of developed a friend crush on you where I was like, I want to be Shatha's friend. And that definitely is something I like continue to feel. And we should definitely grab a coffee in the after.
I would love it. You guys, we're done. We're in the after phase. I'm telling myself.
Yeah. COVID is over. It's true. Lucas and I just both did get our second shots. So
I'm getting mine Monday.
Oh my God,
amazing.
Congrats. Yeah. So exciting. Yay.
Thank you.
But I definitely see where Lucas is coming from and thinking you're shy. I personally more saw it as like, I can see you being like private and protective. Like, I definitely see that in you as someone who like doesn't reveal all the information about herself right away.
Yeah.
It's probably better that way in general.
I think, that's why it takes me a while to get close to people. And that's why I don't date a lot of people either. Because I just don't trust you. Like my boyfriend, when we first met, he was like, oh, you're from Palestine. That's so cool. I was like, no one thinks that's cool. What do you want from me? Like in my head, I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I was like, what are you doing? What do you want?
Just like anything positive, red flag. You can't.
Yeah. I told him, I thought you were a spy in the beginning.
A spy?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yo, that's great. My friend is a Tibetan activist, and she obviously, I won't say her name in case China's listening, but she literally continues to think that like her phone is bugged because
it's definitely bugged.
Yeah.
Let's just clear out the air. It's definitely bugged.
Yeah.
I'll tell her.
She should get like 6 phones and just confuse everyone.
She's also one of my favorite people because she's like the most scatterbrained person in the world and probably like the person who could least handle having a bug phone. Like she's on a green card.
She's the worst person to be a Tibetan activist.
No, she's an incredible activist, but she's in terms of like organizing, like she can organize people to support a cause.
Yeah.
Right. She like lost her green card. It's like, dude, how are you just at a bar using that as your ID? That's some hot girl shit for sure. Anyway, yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm Tibetan, listen. But I act like a white girl. I just show everyone my green
getting into the club like green card.
Has anyone ever actually used a green card to get in the, would that be valid?
Which bouncer is accepting that? Like,
oh my God, I have no idea. Yeah, you have to be a certain level of hot, but she's also very beautiful. It's like you have to be definitely a certain level of hot to be like, here's my passport and I just carry this around.
Like, I'm European.
Yeah, but in terms of my self-perception, it's all very positive. Even the initial like competitiveness, like, fuck, is she gonna be funny too? Like that was from a positive place.
Dude, no, it's, I mean, whatever you guys have said, I would have taken in stride because they are impressed. Like, you don't know comics in the scene that well.
Right.
Like this is probably the first time, Lucas, the second time you and I have actually chatted outside of a show or a mic.
Yeah.
Right. Like we know each other very superficially, and I think can be too quick to just make assumptions off of someone's set or off of someone's demeanor at a mic. And
it's also that the nature of stand-up is like a lot of people in their stand-up are very revelatory. They reveal a lot about like their dark side about like what they're like their habits and stuff. So it's a weird thing where you know a lot about a person, but you're not intimate with them. Exactly.
Yeah. And what comes with intimacy is giving someone the benefit of the doubt. And that's what I try to do is like, oh, I really didn't like what Gabby said on that mic, but maybe she got nervous and she felt like she needed to fall back on that joke and just say it. Or she thought it was like a word that would make the set a little better.
Have you had that experience with me? Canceling me in your head?
I just wanted to make it personal, Gabby.
All my birthright jokes.
Wait, I don't remember any of them. I haven't seen you
them all
in
now.
ages.
Oh yeah. Well, I have this one joke about how birthright was insane, and I went because Jews are basically told to go. American Jews are basically told to go, and I was like, I am curious to see Israel.
Yeah, and it's free.
It's free, yeah.
I'd
I didn't
go if
learn
they'd
a
let me
thing
go.
about Israel. Oh my God, could you imagine they let you go? That would be amazing.
Just changing your name, just like you hand in a fake and you're like, yeah, this is Shatha Rabinowitz.
Shatha Rabinowitz.
And they're like, you were born in Jerusalem. But
they're like, Palace? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy. One of my bits is about how I watched someone break up with her boyfriend at the Holocaust Museum.
Okay.
Wow.
I remember that.
Fucking insane. But I hope it's clear from my material that I think Birthright is like one of the worst, most insipid.
Oh my God. No, not
horrific programs in the entire world. And I don't think it's internalized anti-Semitism for me to say that. I just think any propaganda program is bad.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I think if you associate your identity with a government too much, you're fucking up. Like, that's just what I think. It doesn't matter what government it is, right? If you're like too pro US government, you're too pro Chinese government, there's something wrong, because that government doesn't reflect a lot of people, and they're controlled by very power hungry individuals who you probably don't associate yourself with. But
she said a government concentration.
Yeah, she's a government concentration at Harvard. We have to believe her.
But that's just how I think about it. Is like, all governments are shit. Just don't align yourself with any movement so blindly. Like, we don't do that with anything, right? But if you grew up nationalistic or in a family that or a society that emphasizes that, it is hypocritical of you to be so closely aligned with a government in your thinking. But at the same time, you may be aware that it's hypocritical of you to do it for other movements. Just you don't recognize it with the government bit because you just grew up with that. You grew up with that sentiment. Yeah. Like, this is how I am. This is my identity. My identity is attached to this cause, to this government.
And social media makes it worse.
Exactly. And it takes so much for you to, oh my God, it takes college and your 20s and maybe your 30s to be like, oh, I don't really agree with this. Like, think about people breaking up with their religion. That takes so much. And sometimes it comes at a cost. So if you grew up, being fed certain propaganda, I don't blame you for taking so long to detach yourself from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
absolutely. I think that's a good place to end. Propaganda.
That is a good place to end.
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Shatha,
Shatha,
thank you.
thank you so much for coming on this podcast. You absolutely amazingly. Please plug and promote any and all things that you like, social media, shows, whatever.
Oh, okay. I'd love it. People can follow me at Shathayyas, Shathayyas. But more importantly, if you're in New York, please come to 2 shows that I have this month that I'm really excited about. One is Double Threat Comedy happening May 8th. That's next Saturday. And it's going to be at Asylum Theater in Chelsea. It's a great theater. It just reopened. And it's going to be a storytelling night by stand-up comics. So we have Josh Johnson, Shane Torres, and we always have like diverse female, women, and LGBTQ plus comics. And then on the 23rd, May 23rd is a Sunday, I have a show at the Stand Comedy Club. It's our first one. It's called Fickle Comedy Presents Where's the Funny? And it's going to be all Arab comedians from democracies, dictatorships, and hybrid regimes. And you, the audience, get to decide who's the funniest. I think people from democracies are funnier. From dictatorships are funnier. Democracies don't win in this battle.
That's
the one
awesome.
time. Yeah, they lose.
Yeah, it's the one time.
I've never heard that concept of deciding like what like regime breeds the best comedians.
No, but it is important. You think about how like ethnic humor is honestly the funniest humor. It's like dictator humor is just one step up from that.
Note how she said that, dictator.
Hey, yes.
But yeah, those Fickle Comedy and Double Threat Comedy, they're on Instagram and we have a website. Check us out.
Wonderful. That was awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Give one more huge round of applause for our guest, Shathayyas.
Thank you guys. This is such a fun podcast.
We do indeed. We will be doing a live version of our podcast at the Tiny Cupboard, May 5th, 7:30 p.m. Please come get your tickets on our social medias. You will find a ticket link. And then I will also be doing a show at the Tiny Cupboard like right afterwards as well that I just got booked on, which is awesome as well. So please come through, come see us live, follow us on social media. I am Lucas.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are 2 Nosy Meerkats. We will see you next time.